This is a story of adversity. Well, sort of. It's the story of how one man fixed another's error and how we can learn from that error. Am I telling it? No, of course not. I would be far too informative and clear. No, for this story, someone else is needed. Someone far less stable. Ah, here he is now, sleeping soundly. Wake up!
The Ultimate Universe is back!
And so we begin.
Okay, so way back in 2015, there was a Marvel Comics event called Secret Wars, where basically the entirety of the Marvel multiverse was destroyed. Now, of course, at the end of it, things were rectified, as they always are in comics, and one of the repercussions of the entire multiverse being destroyed is that while it was being remade by the Molecule Man, he decided to make a few small tweaks, one of which being that Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man from Earth 1610, also known as the Ultimate Universe, was now on Earth 616, which is the universe in which stories from Marvel Comics have been being told in since the 1940s when Captain America punched Hitler. It's the one where basically everything in the mainline continuity happens, and now Miles Morales lives there, and importantly, has always lived there, and doesn't remember anything from his previous life in the Ultimate Universe. And some pretty notable things happened to him in Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe. His mom died, all of the villains that he fought, a bunch of friends he made along the way, they were all gone now. The Ultimate Universe, as far as we knew it, was destroyed, and the only things that survived were Miles Morales, his mom, dad, his best friend Genki, and a handful of other Ultimate Universe things that were related and some not related to Miles Morales. I'll get back to that. But the point is, Miles Morales no longer remembers the Ultimate Universe because, in his reality, it never existed and it's destroyed. But he doesn't know that. Now, for a little background here, the Ultimate Universe, which was created in the year 2000, initially started with an edict that basically said it was never supposed to cross over with Earth 616, with the mainline continuity. I'm pretty sure there's some quote where Marvel editorial is talking about how if they ever do cross over with the main Marvel universe, then they've run out of ideas for stories. Funnily enough, a little less than a decade after the Ultimate Universe started, that exact thing happened in a comic book called Spider-Man, where the long and short of it is there's a warehouse, a portal opens in the warehouse, Mysterio from Earth 616 goes through it, 616 Spider-Man Peter Parker follows him through it, and he meets up with Earth 1610 Spider-Man, who at the time is Miles Morales. The book transpires where Peter Parker finds out that his Ultimate Universe counterpart A existed and B is now dead, and everyone in this universe knows that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and that Miles Morales is the new guy, and he would really like Peter's blessing and also maybe some web shooters, so he gets that. Peter fucks off back to his own reality, takes Mysterio with him, and at the end of the book, we are greeted with a teaser of Peter Parker on his little laptop, and he types in, "Who is Miles Morales of Earth 616? And we see his reaction, he's like, whoa! But we don't ever get to know who Miles Morales of 616 is. Until, of course, around 10 years later, where Brian Michael Bendis comes back to write Spider-Man 2, the sequel to Spider-Man 1, if that wasn't already apparent and clear. So the premise of this book is, who the hell is Miles Morales of Earth 616? We know who Peter Parker is of Earth 1610, and who Peter Parker is of Earth 616. We know who Miles Morales is of Earth 1610, but we don't know who Miles Morales is of Earth 616. Who he is, he's a guy who's a lot older than Miles Morales of Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe, but he's got a lot of scars, and he was really good friends with the Kingpin, but then he got locked up for being really good friends with the Kingpin, and his wife is dead, and now he wants to go to a different universe because his wife might be alive in that universe. It's the plot of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's just that, which Bendis also worked on. So maybe he got lazy and was just like, I'll just do that. people want to know who Miles Morales is in Earth 616, and also the movie is coming out, so maybe I'll just do that. That part isn't super important right now. Earth 616 Miles, he's not, don't pay attention to him for right this second. What is important is how this book kind of transpires. The beginning of the book sees that same portal from Spider-Man 1 opening up. It reopens in the same exact warehouse in Earth 616 Manhattan. And out comes Ultimate Taskmaster. But before he does, Miles and Peter have a little bit of a conversation. So Miles goes over to Peter and he's like, hey, do you remember the last time we were here? So Peter goes over to Miles and he's like, oh, are you talking about the time where I went through a portal into your dimension, the dimension that you're from, and we fought a villain together because you're from that dimension, and I came back here after giving you my blessing because you're from a different dimension, but then later you decided to come over to my dimension and live here? And I'm totally okay with that because it's fine that there are two Spider-Men in Manhattan at the same time. And then Miles goes back over to Peter and he's like, yeah. This doesn't make any sense. Disclaimer, if you're not paying attention at this point, pay attention because this is the important part. This little speech, not a shred of sense this makes. The facts that we have right now is that Miles Morales did exist in Earth 1610, and then Molecule Man made it so that he didn't. But now apparently he did, and he remembers all of it as well. And if it is true, boy, it really paints Miles Morales as a bad dude, like a not caring guy. Remember all of the friends and family that I mentioned that he had on Earth 1610? If you had a bunch of friends and family in another dimension, and then you went to live in a dimension that wasn't that dimension, and then you heard that, hey, maybe that other dimension might be destroyed, wouldn't you be a little concerned? Wouldn't you want to go say hi to them? Wouldn't you want to update your readers on whether or not those characters are still alive and whether or not Miles Morales gives a flying shit about them? Well, that's kind of what happens at the end of this book, but not in the way that you would expect. So, at the end of the book, at the end of Spider-Man 2, Miles Morales of Earth 616 succeeds. He goes into Earth 1610 to find his supposedly alive wife in that universe, but he doesn't find her. What he does find is Ultimate Green Goblin getting beat up by the Ultimates in the Ultimate Universe. The Ultimates are the Avengers of the Ultimate Universe, by the way. And this consists of a lovely gallery of characters. We've got Earth 1610 Peter Parker, who's back in the Spidey suit. There's an Ultimate Ironheart here because Bendis can't get enough of Ironheart. There's also some Ultimates characters that are there. It doesn't matter. The point is, Miles Morales of Earth 616 makes it into Earth 1610. He's there now. And this is the first time that we had physically seen the Ultimate Universe since it was killed off in Secret Wars. So it does exist. And the Ultimate Jessica Drew was also there, who was very good friends with Miles Morales. So get this. The status quo now is that, according to fact, Miles Morales doesn't remember that the Ultimate Universe exists, but according to Bendis, he does remember that the Ultimate Universe exists. And Bendis is like, no, I'm not gonna clean that up. I'm gonna go accept the massive paycheck from DC Comics and go write Superman and make that real confusing. Cool? Cool. So he packs his bags and he leaves for DC and just leaves this shitstorm in the hands of Marvel and the next Miles Morales writer, I guess. And Marvel, God bless him, chose like the best possible guy to write Miles Morales and to fix this garbage. And that is Solid Ahmed. So Ahmed comes on the scene, and he is faced with the mountainous task of fixing this continuity nightmare that Bendis left him with, that being that Miles does remember the Ultimate Universe, but he doesn't at the same time. So, how does he do it? I'm gonna tell you, that's the point of this video. Alright, so there's this guy, right? He's called the Assessor. Maybe he's a robot. He has gray skin and wears a suit and kind of talks like a robot, but it's really not clear. Not important. The point is, he captures Miles and does a buttload of experiments on him, leaving Miles with a whole lot of trauma once he escapes with the help of Uncle Aaron the Prowler and his dad, Jefferson, who's an ex-SHIELD agent. Very cool guy. Anyway, he gets out of there, but he is left with a lot of scars, physically and mentally, more importantly. And these scars manifest in a very, very real way. He starts to have dreams. Dreams specifically about another world, another me. That's right, Miles starts to remember the Ultimate Universe. He starts to remember his friends, his family, everything from the Ultimate Universe, the stories that went on there. He's starting to get like a vague idea that something happened there. He doesn't really know what it is, but The second he starts to think about it more and more, he's punched in the face by Ultimate Green Goblin, who is just in Earth 616 now for some reason, and Miles is like, who the hell are you? Wait, I kind of remember you. You're Ultimate Green Goblin. And the second he remembers that, he gets punched in the face again. Every single time he tries to remember something from the Ultimate Universe, it gets foggier, but clearer at the same time because he's iterating on that thought. It hurts to think about. But every time he sees something like Ultimate Green Goblin, or he has these dreams, the picture becomes clearer. There's also a guy who's pulling all the strings here. His name is Ultimatum. Who's this dude? He's got like a red Captain America shield. He's dressed up in like Ultimates-inspired designs. He's got a bunch of cronies that also look like him. Apparently Ultimate Green Goblin is working for him. Who's this dude? None other than Miles Morales of Earth 616. That's right. Solid and Ahmed said, yeah, I'll take this character no one cared for and I'll put him in my book and I'll make you care about him. Why? Because Ultimatum has a plan. Ultimatum wants to send everything from the Ultimate Universe back from whence it came. And at this point, according to Bendis, we do know that the Ultimate Universe is alive. It's back, so there is a back to send it to, especially because Solid and Ahmed was like, yes, all of that happened because Miles Morales of Earth 616 is back on Earth 616, and he has a bunch of shit, including the physical person of Ultimate Norman Osborn in Green Goblin, back from Earth 1610. So all that happened. We're retconning the fact that Miles remembered that the Ultimate Universe exists, but otherwise, all the other physical aspects, those are real. So at this point, Miles doesn't really know any of this. He doesn't know that his Earth 616 counterpart is actually Ultimatum. He doesn't know why Ultimatum is doing the things that he's doing. He doesn't know that Ultimate Green Goblin is Norman Osborn. All he knows is he has a vague idea that he used to know this guy and he fought him once and he's starting to have these weird dreams. Meanwhile, in the background, Ultimatum has employed the Prowler, Miles' Uncle Aaron, for, reasons that we don't need to get into at this time. But the point is, the reason that Ultimatum hired the Prowler is because he knows he's from the Ultimate Universe. Because Ultimatum came back with a bunch of shit from the Ultimate Universe, and he did some science on it or whatever, and noticed that it had a certain energy signature, and the only two things that he has come into contact with in this universe since he's been back that have that same energy signature are Uncle Aaron and Spider-Man, Miles Morales. And he proves this theory by taking the Ultimate Prowler mask from the Ultimate Universe that he took back with him and shows it to the Prowler right now here in Earth 616. Not Earth 616 Prowler, we're talking Aaron Davis, Earth 1610 Prowler, who doesn't remember that the Ultimate Universe exists. And the second he sees the mask, he starts to remember things. For Miles, it was Green Goblin. For the Prowler, it's his old mask. This is the triggering factor that wakes up these memories that the Molecule Man erased and replaced. So at this point, all cards are on the table. Ultimatum reveals that the Assessor was working for him and that these experiments were purposefully done to reawaken the memories in Miles Morales, and he now has the Prowler under his capture, and he's going to go capture Miles Morales again. So he does. The Assessor nabs Miles Morales with a clone of Miles Morales, by the way. That was another thing that came out of the experiments that the Assessor did. Anyway, not super important. He captures both of them, and he reveals his grand villain plan to them. Ultimatum unmasks, reveals to Ultimate Miles Morales that he is regular Earth 616 Miles Morales. This throws him for a loop a little bit, and then he's like, hey, now that you're thrown for a loop a little bit, I'm gonna tell you something. You're from a different universe, and you gotta go back. I don't want you here anymore. This is my town, so you gotta get the hell out of Dodge. And he reveals this big contraption that is apparently gonna send Miles and Aaron back to the Ultimate Universe. And that's it. The story is still being told. But the fact is, the Ultimate Universe is, once again, back. It is back in actual continuity, not Bendis continuity, and it's being told in, honestly, a really cool way. Miles slowly remembering these things about his past life, and the foreshadowing that we're going to be dealing with the trauma that will probably come out of that has been expertly handled, and, might I add, expertly dodged every time Ultimatum gets their hands on one of these two fools from the Ultimate Universe. They just keep escaping, because I guess Solid and Ahmed wants to drag this story out for a little bit. But the point is, we know everything. All cards are on the table now, and in the last issue, at the time of this recording, it's even implied that Aaron and Miles remember literally everything from the Ultimate Universe now. They're just too busy to actually come to terms with it. So It's vague whether or not that's true. They might just remember more than they did in the previous issue, or they might remember everything. Time will tell. Okay, that was a lot about Spider-Man, but we're not done. There's more. What if I told you that there was another guy, another dude who went aboard the Noah's Ark into the new multiverse, who was probably supposed to be destroyed because the Ultimate Universe is gone or whatever? There was, and his name is the Maker. Who's the Maker? The Maker is Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe. We're still talking about Earth 1610 here. He's a dick. Let's be honest, Reed Richards, even normal Reed Richards at his core is kind of an ass, but like the Maker is like super villain levels of ass. That's who the Maker is. You don't really need to know very specific things about him. He's got a big cone head, and he wants power a lot. He's a bad guy. So how did he do this? How did the Maker survive the remaking of all of the multiverse and place himself in Earth 616 and every other universe in the new multiverse? Well, he made a deal with the Molecule Man. He said, hey bud, I don't really know what I'm gonna give you because it's not really explained, but how about you put my one mind and spread it across infinite bodies of the multiverse, with the notable exception of Earth 1610. He doesn't have a mind nor a body in the Ultimate Universe, but he has a mind and body, well, one mind, many bodies, across the rest of the multiverse, especially Earth 616, because that's the Earth that all of these stories are told from. But presumably, he could be doing a bunch of other stuff on other Earths, which he does. We're not really going to talk about that. But the point is, he was here on Earth 616, and he wanted to do some shit. He formed an organization called Whisper, which stands for something because it's Marvel. Of course it stands for something. It doesn't matter. The point is, the Maker wanted to destroy this thing called the Superflow, which is this Marvel cosmic idea/entity thing that exists between each universe across the multiverse. It's like the boundary that stops them from colliding or becoming one. The point is, he wanted to destroy it, and he did. Okay, so I'm not really gonna get into why he wanted to destroy the Superflow, because it's a nightmare in and of itself, but the long and short of it is that, so the Marvel multiverse is personified as like a dude, and there have been many previous versions of the multiverse. For example, the last version of the multiverse is where Galactus comes from. He was a survivor from that. And they're all like guys, and like the first one wants to come back and kill the current one, and the Maker knew about this and thought the only way to save everyone from that was to destroy the Superflow, to unite the multiverse into one big universe so that it could be stronger. It doesn't matter. Here's what does matter to my point, my thesis in the Return of the Ultimate Universe. The Maker, when he was in the guts of the multiverse, he decided to make a few changes. The most notable one being he brought back like 4 members of the Ultimates from Earth 1610, who at this point we thought were all dead because we thought the Ultimate Universe was dead. He brings them back with his little fingies, and he's like, hey, attack those guys who are also called the Ultimates, but they're from Earth 616 and they're here to stop me because I'm the villain of their book currently. And the Ultimates, without turning around and looking at the Maker, are like, yeah, sure, you got it, bud. So they go and fight the Ultimates. The Ultimates fight the Ultimates for a bit, and then the Ultimates turn around and they look at the Maker and they're like, hey, wait a minute, we remember you, you're a dick. So they start fighting the Maker, and then the Ultimates help the Ultimates fight the Maker, and then the Maker dies because the Ultimates and the Ultimates kill the Maker, and then the Ultimates are like, hey, we know because you guys told us that the Maker is one mind split among infinite bodies, so he's not really dead, so we're gonna go into the Superflow in our little spaceship and go hunt down all of the other Makers and kill them all. We're a Maker hunting squad now. Because he's kind of our mistake, because he was one of the good guys on our universe, but not anymore. He's real bad. Okay, that was a lot, but did you notice something there? Did you notice something that I tried to make clear? The Ultimates, when they turned around and saw the Maker from their universe, at only that point did they remember who he was. Before that, they were like, yeah, who cares? He's the Maker. I don't know who that is. I'm just gonna fight these dudes because he brought us back to life or whatever. But then they turned around and they remembered because they saw him, just like Miles Morales seeing Ultimate Green Goblin, just like Uncle Aaron seeing his old mask. Mind you, these are comic books written by two entirely different people. This is something you never see. Synergy, or maybe coincidence, of two concepts working together around the same thing. The return of the Ultimate Universe and how people remember things from the Ultimate Universe. And there's more to it, because the Maker's dead on Earth 616, right? But like I mentioned, he has one mind, infinite bodies. So he just takes another body, portals back over to Earth 616, and shows up in the Venom book, written by Donny Cates. Now this is kind of a case of writers not talking to each other, because the Maker kind of just doesn't mention Whisper anymore, or any of the Superflow stuff that he just went through. He's got a new mission. He wants to join the Council of Reeds. If you don't know what the Council of Reeds is, it's a bunch of interdimensional, multiversal Reed Richards who come together to form a hive mind and fuck around and play God in the universe, the multiverse. Reed Richards of our world, Earth 616, joined him once and then said, "You guys suck," and then left. Which, of course, that would mean that the Maker would love these guys, so he wants to join them. But they kind of have one rule. You need your own Earth. You can't just be bumming some other Reed Richards Earth. We don't like the homeless here. Like I said, they suck. And remember, the Maker doesn't have a home. As far as we know, Earth 1610 is dead or broken or something at this point, and he doesn't have a mind or a body in Earth 1610. So of course, obviously, his next goal would be to return to the Ultimate Universe, just like Ultimatum is trying to send Miles and Aaron back and anything else from the Ultimate Universe. The Maker's trying to get back there so that he can join the Council of Reeds and presumably like take over the multiverse or whatever. The story's still being told. But the point is, he makes it back. How does he make it back? He creates the portal, he pulls through a little sliver of Ultimate Venom, and he repairs it and he puts it on himself, and then he goes through. He had to do that because if he went through the portal naked, it would have killed him or something. The point is, he makes it through. And what does he see when he make it through? When he do the thing and jump through a portal? Burning, scary Manhattan, or Ultimate Manhattan. He does it, he's in there, he's on Earth 1610, but Manhattan is in flames. And he's on Times Square, and there's like news screens everywhere that say, "Where are the Ultimates? Help us, Ultimates. Where are the Ultimates? Well, they're in the fucking Superflow, trying to kill the Maker." Right? I certainly hope that's what's being implied. Who knows? It's written by a different guy. The point is, the Ultimate Universe is back in full swing. We have both physically seen it, we have seen it in Miles's memories, and we've seen it in the Bendis version of it where it's all happy and good, but we're not going to pay attention to that because it made no sense. But Solid and Ahmed made that work. Donny Cates is making it kind of interesting. Al Ewing put his own little spin on it. The point is, we have a cool story happening right now in comics where the Ultimate Universe is coming back, and I think these two writers are doing a really good job of telling us that and being the guys who show us that that story is coming back, that the Ultimate Universe is a thing again. Now, who knows if they're actually communicating with each other and that these synergistic qualities of how characters remember their past lives, or, you know, how people get back to the Ultimate Universe through these similar looking portal structures. Who knows if that's intentional or if that's just really cool coincidence. I really hope it's intentional, but I have my doubts just based on the history of how Marvel writes their comics. But, you know, at the end of the day, only time will tell.
And so he rests, waiting until it's time to tell another story, or more accurately, fumble through telling another story. Either way, thank you for watching.
Hey, I'm trying to be quiet not to wake myself up. Thanks for watching this, and huge thanks to Owen from Owen Likes Comics, my good buddy and fellow YouTuber. He's the one who's the voice in the sky that you just heard at the beginning and the end there. Go watch his stuff, he's great. Okay, good night.